All right, ladies and gentlemen. So we have multiple reactions from the mainstream media of Stormy Daniels' testimony that happened yesterday that was disastrous for the prosecution and DA Alvin Bragg and any attorney in his office that came from the Biden administration. But I think probably the best reaction of them all was Lawrence O'Donnell on MSNBC, where he fawns over Stormy Daniels. And yes, he did fawn over her. And remember, Stormy Daniels is an adult film actress. I'm not going to call her an adult film star anymore because I was listening to another show the other day and they're like, well, she wasn't really even that much of a star. You might could call her, just plain adult film actress because she didn't really star in any great films, which, I haven't seen any of them, thank God. And God forbid I ever do. But this is Lawrence O'Donnell comparing Stormy Daniels to a nun.
She entered wearing all black, as if on her way to a funeral. The loose-fitting, plain black clothing draping from her shoulders to her toes suggested the modesty of a nun.
She entered wearing all black, as if on the way to a funeral. Yeah, she was on the way to a funeral, all right, and I believe she was on the way to her own funeral and also the funeral of the prosecution, who decided to parade Stormy Daniels in front of the jury and allow her to bring up any sort of irrelevant detail about Donald Trump to make him look as bad as possible. That's a whole strategy of the prosecution right now. They know that they have failed miserably to link Donald Trump to any sort of falsified business record that this trial is supposed to be about. So they went into a back room and they decided that they're going to play Plan B. And Plan B was Stormy Daniels coming into the courtroom and telling the jury this sexual encounter that she had with Donald Trump. And whether you believe it or not, a trial is supposed to stay on topic. A trial is supposed to be about something specific. And in this case, a falsified business record. And the sexual encounter with Donald Trump has nothing to do with the trial at hand. But it could, however, prejudice the jury against the defendant because they might have this inclination that, this defendant is a bad person. So therefore, I'm not going to give him the benefit of the doubt. And in our justice system, we are supposed to have the stance where this person is innocent until proven guilty. And they are trying to flip-flop this with the jury members. And then, of course, we have the Women of the View, that show of very intelligent, beautiful, and talented women who provide the United States excellent critique on all the most important topics. And in this case, they are talking about Donald Trump and this possibility that he might go to jail. And they are just falling all over themselves over this idea. And Whoopi Goldberg, they were talking about which prison that he might, be incarcerated in. And one of them brought up was Rikers Island. But Whoopi Goldberg, she had a different idea. She said, you know what? I think that they should reopen Alcatraz just for Donald Trump. Listen to this.
If he read it, it didn't matter to him, right, Whoopi? I'm sort of conflicted about whether or not he should be held in contempt and he's already been held in contempt, but put in jail for it. But I do think that 71% of Americans have said that he should be put in jail if he is convicted. The other thing I will say, we all saw, many of us.
Look at her. Look at her bouncing in her chair.
I remember how Judge Ito lost complete control of the courtroom, and I think that had a lot to do with the win. You cannot let Donald Trump be a runaway train in that courtroom.
No.
It's not his courtroom. It's the judge's courtroom. And so I think to make a point, to prove a point, put him in the clink. Why not? Put him in the clink.
I don't want this to sound like I'm doing wishful thinking.
Yes.
But which prison would be best?
I know which one.
I'm going to give you Michael. Well, that's what I got. Number one is Rikers. But, I'm okay if he goes to Alcatraz and they reopen it.
And there it is.
What about Guantanamo Bay? Okay?
Yeah, well, that'd be close to Mar-a-Lago. Melania can come and visit.
That's right. What about Supermax? Supermax would be interesting to tell. Chapo was in Supermax. He, hey, now, he wants to be with the hip people. Come on.
Yeah.
These are my suggestions in case anybody wants to know.
So when I said that this esteemed panel of women on The View were literally bouncing up and down in their chairs at the thought of Donald Trump in an orange jumpsuit in Rikers Island or Alcatraz or Guantanamo Bay. I was not lying. They are absolutely excited about this thought. And, you know, I find it kind of funny and pretty sad that if you were to ask any of these women why they don't like Donald Trump, you would probably get an answer something like, well, he's sexist, or he's a racist, or he's some sort of phobe, or he's this, or he's that. But they really don't have any articulate reason why they don't like Donald Trump, because they have been entrenched in this negative bubble of mainstream media information. And all they read are headlines and what their overlords tell them to think. So you really can't blame them, because they've become entrenched in this negative narrative about Donald Trump. And he has been elevated to a very unique position in American society, for some people at least, where he is like this super mega bad dude, you know, like the villain in a comic book. That's how they view him. He is the villain. They can't really say why he's a villain, other than some vague platitudes as to why they think that he is bad. And this is just a reality we live in now. Everything is subjective. You don't really have to explain anything. You don't have to have any objective reasoning, any logic. You just have to have a feeling, right? But Whoopi Goldberg is not the only one who is fantasizing about Donald Trump being put in jail. Jen Psaki is also fantasizing about this. And also she is talking about, you know, maybe Donald Trump will just go away. Maybe he'll just die. Listen.
I think many of them want to be close to power. They also assume or have this thought in their mind that maybe Donald Trump will go away. Maybe he'll go to jail. Maybe he will die, not to be too morbid, but maybe, I mean, he's not a young man.
Well, you know, I'm sad to disappoint you, Jen Psaki, but if anyone were to die, it would probably be Joe Biden first. Donald Trump, compared to Joe Biden, looks like a young buck. He's in here. He's holding rallies, multiple rallies in the same day. He's flying back to New York, giving a press conference outside of court, walking into the courtroom, sitting there for 7-8 hours, coming out, giving another press conference, holding another rally. So he is staying active. He is staying fit. So I would not count on Donald Trump dying anytime soon, at least before the election or the next 4 years. But regardless of the motives of the prosecution by bringing Stormy Daniels into this trial and parading all this negative stuff in front of Donald Trump, it seems to have severely backfired. And this is coming from a former federal judge who went on CNN, and she said this. And she talked about the fact that everything that Stormy Daniels talked about during her testimony just was not relevant to the case at all. So, guys, I'm sorry, CNN. I'm sorry, Jen Psaki, Whoopi Goldberg. It looks like Donald Trump probably will stay out of jail. And, you know, myself, I'm kind of disappointed at this as well. I think Donald Trump should say, you know what, this is not a legitimate trial. I'm not going to follow your unconstitutional gag order. Put me in jail. It would make him the greatest martyr of anyone since Nelson Mandela. But this is what the federal judge had to say. This former federal judge had to say on CNN yesterday. Listen.
The material that came in was not relevant to this criminal case at all. And I think it shows that she was trying to get Trump. I actually thought there was a motive there. She said she hates him. She said she'd like to see him in prison. I think she was purposely throwing out this stuff to make sure the jurors were prejudiced, particularly the women jurors, but probably half of the men too, were really put off.
So yes, this is obviously a disgusting trial. It has been a disgusting trial from the very start. If you've been following this, you know that the charge against Trump with his falsified business records case, this charge, is actually a misdemeanor in New York, and it carries with it a statute of limitation of 2 years. So how are they able to bring this charge against him 8 years later? Well, they found this loophole where they're able to upgrade it to a felony where they can bypass the statute of limitations by saying it was in pursuant of a second crime. Now, what is a second crime? Well, the prosecution has not been able to articulate it other than saying that, well, he was trying to influence the 2016 election by paying hush money to an adult film actress to suppress a story that would have been negative for him in the news. And how is this a crime? Even if he did that knowingly, how is that a crime? How is that not just PR? Every campaign, every politician in the history of politicians does this. This is simply PR. But what do you guys think about this? What do you think of the reaction to Stormy Daniels and her testimony? What do you think about the mainstream media just falling over themselves, excited about the idea of Donald Trump being sent to prison potentially? Let me know what you think down below in the comments. Like and subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. But until then, I will see you on the next one.